Righteous Felon Craft Jerky is the official jerky of Belly Up Sports. For over a decade, Righteous Felon Craft Jerky has led the American meat snack revolution by concocting delicious, adventurous, U.S.-sourced jerky recipes for uncompromising carnivores across the country. With 15 different flavors to choose from, Righteous Felon has all jerky lovers covered, and by using promo code BELLYUP, you will get 15% off your purchase at righteousfelon.com. Do your taste buds a favor today and rip into a bag of Righteous Felon jerky.
One of the biggest rumors that just hit is the possibility of Neymar going to the MLS. So I believe Neymar has not been registered for Al Hilal for the second half of the season. I don't know if his contract has been released. I don't think he's been released from his contract. It's a lot of money, by the way. But obviously his time in Al Hilal has not been ideal. You know, especially with the injury. That's not very necessarily Al Hilal's fault. It's more so just it happened for Neymar. He got injured, and that's why he hasn't been playing. But I do. But for more and more now, it seems that discussions of him making a possible move to the MLS has been something that's been talked about. You know, Neymar has been rumored to wanting to rejoin, Messi and Suarez to reunite MSN. I think there's certain things that will prevent that. The one thing being MLS roster rules. The whole thing. That's like the big thing though. But even despite that, Inter Miami was initially viewed as a heavy favorite, respectively so, because he does want to be reunited with Lionel Messi. I think that would be, he's had some interviews where he talked about how he enjoyed his time at PSG with Messi because obviously they're good friends. I'm sure Neymar was one of the reasons why Messi decided to go to PSG when he did go there for those 2 seasons. Was it 2? Yeah, it was 2 seasons. Might have been one of the reasons why he went there, but obviously his time at PSG is his time at PSG. They still want things. I mean, I feel like sometimes we talk about how as if PSG wasn't successful with Messi, but obviously when you think of PSG wanting success, they're talking about Champions League, which that didn't happen with Messi. But yeah, Inter Miami was initially the heavy favorite, but Mascherano, who is now the manager for Inter Miami, he in their media day he immediately shut that down. He's like it's just not gonna. It can't happen because of the MLS roster restrictions, and they're right. He's absolutely right about that. So there is no way. Unless MLS wants to make some changes, but yeah, that seems to be the true case. But there has been one team that has popped up more, and that is the Chicago Fire. The Chicago Fire has been dropped to sign Neymar. Has been heavily pushed amongst all medias that this is the team that is speaking with Neymar right now. Apparently there has been discussions with Neymar as far as his representation. And also on top of that, Chicago Fire does have Neymar's discovery rights, which if you're hearing this, you probably are asking me, what in the world are you talking about? And I agree, this is one of the dumbest things that MLS has, which is discovery rights. Essentially, discovery rights means that the team has basically called dibs. That's all that's all the discovery rights means. It means that the Chicago Fire has called dibs at Neymar and while everybody else was sleeping. And so if you want to try to get Neymar, you have to make a deal with the Chicago Fire for those discovery rights. So you're going to have to buy the discovery rights from Chicago in order to pursue Neymar. So because of that, Chicago essentially monopolized themselves to be the front runners for Neymar. Now, maybe Inter Miami wants to buy out that discovery right, and that could be very much an option. But as of right now, Chicago has made some offers, and as a matter of fact, they're actually prepared to offer Neymar a deal similar to Messi. So Messi, if you guys know, he has a certain percentage of MLS sales. He has a certain percentage. He gets a cut of the Apple TV deal. So this would be one of those things where not only does Chicago Fire pay Neymar, but MLS will come into play to help out and get Neymar to the Chicago Fire and to the MLS. But it's rumored that Neymar actually wants more than what Messi has. And I mean, if you think that this is his only option, it is not, because Santos, the club that started it all for Neymar, would love to have him back. And how perfect of a story would that be for Neymar if he can, move on from the whole Hilal thing, the whole injury thing, go back to Santos and get his groove back. And I don't know where Santos is. I don't know if Santos is back in the Serie B of Brazil, but I think they should be. But anyways, how perfect would that be for him to be able to get Santos back into the conversation for Brazil, and maybe back into the conversation for Copa Libertadores? I think that could also be a crazy thing. I think we, as far as Neymar goes, I know he's been to America plenty of times. I mean, he's a big fan of he loves the NBA. He's mentioned how, in his documentary, how he was a big fan of Kobe Bryant, which I'm sure he's had interactions with Kobe Bryant, because Kobe Bryant is also a Barcelona fan. And I think that, America is enticing to him. Do I think Chicago is the destination for him? Probably not, because of the cold weather. I think maybe he would want something with some preferable weather, like Florida, like Miami, Florida, maybe even California. Maybe he wants to go to LA. Maybe he wants to have the Hollywood lifestyle. Those are some things that, could entice Neymar. Chicago is a cool city. I think obviously Chicago Bulls is going to be the one thing you think of because of Michael Jordan. But I think Chicago would be fun. I think Chicago, obviously, but it's not necessarily the most ideal situation. You are coming in with a new head coach in Greg Berhalter. Depends how you feel about Greg Berhalter as far as like what he will do with Chicago. Chicago is, wasn't great last year, so I think it's going to be essentially a project depending on what Chicago does. I know Chicago has been in the mix for some players. Have been very active in the transfer window, trying to gain guys. I don't know if they've signed anybody yet. They do have some interesting players like Brian Gutierrez, who was actually had a really good performance in the friendly against Venezuela. I think that this maybe could be it would be an interesting story nonetheless. If Neymar and MLS in general will be interesting, but I think Chicago, I just don't know how good of a fit Chicago is. I think there's a lot of questions behind Chicago. Is Chicago going to be able to compete right away? Does Neymar even want to be on a team that is kind of has a lot of questions behind it? Does he even want to play Berhalter ball? Is a good fair question as well. I don't know. I think the thing that makes the most sense to me is the return of MSN, which once again is here in Miami to rejoin forces with Messi, Suarez, Jordi Alba and Sergio Busquets, guys that he's familiar with from his days at Barcelona. Or I mean, LA probably makes a lot of sense to me too. San Diego, that I think would be really cool. New MLS team. You just go and get you go and get Neymar. And kind of how a few episodes ago, me and Jose were talking about Cristiano Ronaldo to San Diego. I mean, Neymar to San Diego. What if we get a San Diego Miami final? I mean, that would be a very interesting to see who can get the first MLS Cup. Will it be Neymar and San Diego FC, or will Inter Miami finally get the MLS Cup? Those are some of the things that could be interesting to see. I think Neymar's impact in the MLS, if this were to happen, and I think obviously right now I can't talk about hypotheticals. I am going to talk about hypotheticals. I'm going to talk about within realistic situation as far as MLS goes, which is the fact that at the end of the day, Neymar can only go to Chicago unless someone buys Chicago's discovery rights. So right now in Chicago, I think Chicago is a really good sports town. I mean, depressing sports town, but still a really strong fan base. I think it has a lot of fans, a lot of football fans in Chicago as well. It's a very diverse city, a lot of Polish influence, a lot of I don't obviously Brazilian is not the one thing I know. I know it has a lot of Mexico fans over there in Chicago as well. I think it could be an interesting. I think how he wins over Chicago will be really cool. Um, but I think Neymar for him, and it's kind of the thing is for him to move on from what has happened since him moving to Al Hilal, which once again is the injury. The injury was the only thing that really hurt him from his time in Al Hilal. I don't know if anything else you would say hurt. I don't think the relationship with Al Hilal and Neymar are bad. As a matter of fact, I think Al Hilal is even trying to extend him because obviously they would love to have him in Saudi Arabia, especially when the 2030 World Cup, because I believe that's 2030 World Cup. I believe is the one that Saudi Arabia is hosting, or it's 2034. One of those. Actually, 2034 I believe is the one that Saudi Arabia is hosting. So I think they're trying to see if they can hold them long enough till the 2034 World Cup. But I think when Neymar's healthy, he's just an amazing player. I think he's a solid player. The flopping thing, I mean, people are gonna say that, but I think nonetheless he's a solid player. I think he could really be a game changer. I think if he can find his groove back and have fun with the game, I think that he's going to be great for the MLS. I think he's a personality, which I think is also a benefit for the MLS. I think him having fun and doing all the interactions, I think he's going to be great for social media. I think Neymar is honestly probably perfect if MLS wants to have someone to help grow the game in America. No offense to Messi, but Messi is just not the social butterfly that is Neymar. And so I think, and this is not dissing Messi. I think Messi's name alone brings a lot of attention to him, but Neymar has a name as well. And Neymar also has an energy. And so I think that is going to be huge for the MLS. If they can get Neymar to the MLS, I think it'll be impactful for MLS. Is it going to be more discussions of the retirement league? Yes, but at this point, it's freaking Neymar. Like, who wouldn't want to get Neymar? So I do think it would be a great acquisition for MLS if they can get Neymar on Neymar on one of these MLS club rosters. Do I think should it be Chicago? No, I think he needs to be in a huge market. Chicago is a big market, but not for MLS. They have fans. I'm not dissing Chicago Fire fans. I know that they're a hungry fan base and they want to see the team compete. I just don't know if Neymar is you're gonna need. You need to have more than just Neymar to be good. And I mean they do have some players that I think are interesting, but they still need more. Like I would love to see him in LAFC. I would love to see him in LA Galaxy, even though I don't think they really need him. But LAFC might be an interesting destination. Inter Miami obviously makes the most sense in the world, especially if you're a huge Barcelona fan and you would love just the Inter Miami tour. But I would love to see him go somewhere else because I just don't want Inter Miami to be even more bigger than what it is. Because at this point, Inter Miami is probably bigger than the MLS. But if it does happen, which, like I said, I think Santos is probably the clear front runner. As much as like the idea of him coming to MLS would be cool, I think his return to Santos will be even clearly massive for the game, and I think that would be just as extraordinary of him going back to Brazil than going to the MLS. But I can't wait, man. I can't wait to see more as this story transpires and where he ends up. Maybe he stays at Al Hilal at the end of all this, but I think it's still an interesting story to follow. We'll see what happens in the days to come.